My fiance confessed that he's ashamed of my poor family. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was said to me on Instagram. I grew up really poor, but my family has come up in life. My father opened up his own business and my mom and him run it. Although it's not a huge lucrative business, it's still comfortable enough for my siblings and I to be happy. Because of the way that I grew up, I knew that I wanted to marry a rich man, and he had to be rich. I had 5 serious relationships before I turned 25. I broke up with each guy because I knew that they weren't going to be able to give me the life I wanted. There's 2 things I know. I did not want to get to 27 and not be married, so I knew I had to act quickly. Started hanging out where I knew rich people would hang out. This is where I met my bestie. This girl had my back. She was going to Paris, she'd take me to Paris. She would pay for everything. Parents neglected her and my family basically took her in. So she would come to my parents' house once or twice a week to have dinner. A few weeks later, she introduced me to my now fiance. And she hated him. She told me to stay away from him, but I couldn't listen. See, he's hot, plus he has money. And he targeted me. The first night he met me, he could not stop looking at me. We hung out every day for a week, and after that, he asked me to be his girlfriend. Of course, I said yes. A few months later, I moved in with him. My family approved. His family loved me too. Sometimes he would comment on my family's house, to the way that they dress. My parents came over to his parents for dinner. He told my dad in passing that it looked like he didn't have enough time to get ready. My dad was wearing a button-up shirt. He and I got into a huge fight that night, and that's when he confessed that he was embarrassed by my family. That's when my boyfriend's parents asked me to forgive him. They said they were ashamed of his behavior. I forgave him, and once I did, he proposed. He told me he wanted me to be a stay-at-home wife. That was my dream. All I wanted was to have kids and raise them at home. Parents were happy about the engagement, and so were his. As we started planning the wedding, he started saying things like, I hope your parents aren't going to wear what they usually wear to the wedding. And he insisted that my dad needed to buy a $3,000 suit. Otherwise, he wouldn't look expensive enough. And that's verbatim. We got into another huge fight. He showed up to my house with a Mercedes apologizing. I'm not sure what to do. Should I even marry him? I know my life with him will be complete luxury. What should I do?
Am I wrong for telling my mom and dad that they have to get their noses pierced if they want to see my daughter again? My husband and I traveled down to Mexico to visit with my family. I am an American citizen, but my mom and dad are not. My mom and dad got my daughter earrings for her birthday, but my daughter's ears are not pierced, and she's only 1 year old. So I told them I would save them for her until she was old enough to get her ears pierced. Well, we left my daughter with my parents while we went to meet up with some friends, and you can see where this is going. When we went to pick up my daughter, my mom showed us that we did not have to wait because they took her to get her ears pierced. So I got my daughter and dragged my husband out of there before he lost it. Then we went back to our hotel. I am absolutely furious, and my husband said my parents are not allowed to spend time alone with my daughter ever again. I went farther. I said I would not be bringing her or any kids we might have down to see my parents. And we checked out 3 days earlier. Am I wrong for telling my mom and dad that they have to get their noses pierced if they ever want to see my daughter again? On my way home, my parents were calling me to see when we were coming over. I ignored all the calls and texts until we got back to Phoenix. We took a couple days to think things over and cool down. So I finally called them and asked them not to speak until I was done talking. I told them that my husband and I are upset for them getting our baby's ears pierced without our permission. So I let them know we went back home and probably wouldn't be visiting for a while. That's when they said that my sister and I both had pierced ears when we were babies and it did not harm us. I said that we were not going to change our minds. Then they started getting everyone, including my grandmother, to call me and say I was being ridiculous. Me and my husband decided that we would agree to resume visits, but not alone time with them if they got their noses pierced. They said that we're being stupid and they are not going to, so I said no problem and hung up.
Am I wrong for throwing my husband out after finding nudes from the nanny?
Why would you even ask? I think she just needs validation.
I'm new to Reddit, but my little sister suggested I ask here. I'm 28 female, my daughter is Cassie, 11 months, and my husband is Alex, 35. So basically, it's just what the title said. I had Cassie and then returned to work, psychologist, and I could never be a stay-at-home mom. I'm actually French, but live in the US, so when I returned at the 4-month mark, as I had a difficult birth, we looked around to find a nanny to look after Cassie while myself and Alex were at work. We saw a few girls, but then one of Alex's colleagues suggested his daughter, who had dropped out of college. Let's call her Liv, 20 female. Everything went well. Admittedly, I did notice her being quite attached to Cassie, but I brushed it off as a good friendship between the two. She also liked Alex. It was obvious she had a crush on him, always batting her lashes and giggling. I actually found it amusing as I'm confident in myself. He always laughed it off with me too. But then on Thursday night, he asked me to do something on his phone while he bathed Cassie, and I saw some pictures flash up from Liv. When I looked at them, they were obviously sexy nudes. She was wearing skimpy lingerie and in a provocative pose. I looked back at the history and she had been sending these for a while. As far as I can see, Alex never responded, but obviously texts can be deleted. When I asked him, he got defensive and told me to stop using my psychiatrist tricks on him. I was not happy with his non-answers and it ended up in a shouting match waking Cassie. So I got him a bag and threw him out. Told him he's not welcome back until I have answers. I'm considering taking Cassie back home to see my family in France for a little bit. His mom and friends have been blowing up my phone, saying I'm being too harsh and they were harmless texts. Nevertheless, I feel disrespected and that doesn't fly with me. Was I too harsh? Should I expect his claims that he never responded?
Her psychiatrist tricks on him, literally just asking him, "Are you cheating on me?"
That's the quickest gas.
Stop using your tricks on me! I asked you if you're cheating on me.
There are pictures, sir.
Yo!
What are these? Like, what?
That's crazy. I hate when people bandwagon on the one who's like doing the bad thing. I hate that. I hate when people feel enabled and encouraged to continue their bad behaviors. Because you always look at the reaction and never what's causing it. And then you're like, oh, she's crazy. Well, why is she crazy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do think that's a red flag. If you are talking to someone new and they're like, all my exes are crazy.
Definitely. Definitely.
Who's the common denominator? You.
Exactly. Like, you have to be able to take accountability to some extent.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to blame yourself for, like, everything, but also you're like, there's certain actions that I could have done differently. You know, it's all about self-reflection and self-awareness.
Well, and I feel like for this one, she does say he never responded. But if you were innocent in this, you could have like approached your wife after the first pictures came through and been like, hey, Hanani, I did nothing to initiate this, but we have a problem on our hands.
And why would she feel so comfortable as to continue to send them if he wasn't responding?
Exactly. Like, I know there are some women out there, and there's some guys too that probably get off on it. I think maybe she's 20, she's just very confident and just kind of like naive and maybe just going in hard and just being like, I'm gonna keep sending until I get asked not to.
But I feel like news though is such a vulnerable thing that like when you don't get a response, you're like, you kind of just like, what the fuck? Like,
the rejection
like,
of it.
something that you're expecting someone to be like, oh my God, you look so good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to continue to send that if I'm not getting the validation. Yeah, I feel like he's definitely.
You don't think he's telling the truth that like.
Hell no, there's no way
No.
he could be telling the truth.
I'm just going to be doing like a little bit of an update from the last little story that I gave where I have the worst luck. I'm going to be using my Anastasia Beverly Hills The Sultry Mini Eyeshadow Palette while I get ready. I do have the worst luck. I dealt with food poisoning not long after we went to the restaurant, and that led to 2 emergency room visits, and it wasn't until after. So because my throat had been so raw from throwing up, I guess my throat started swelling like so bad because it was like so irritated. So I don't know how she described it to me. She's just like, it's like when, you know, food goes down the wrong pipe almost. So that pipe, I should get like the paperwork that they gave me so I can give you guys like the exact thing. They ran so many tests on me because they didn't understand why. And the only conclusion that the doctors at the emergency room could come to is that my throat was so raw from throwing up that it was literally swelling like shut. It was honestly so bad to the point where I couldn't even swallow my saliva because I was in so much pain. I want to say like I feel like I have a great pain tolerance, and I know a lot of people say that, but my pain tolerance is A1. Like, I went through 2 births unmedicated, not by choice, but because that epidural didn't work on me. So I felt everything. I want to say that I deal with pain very, very well. I was literally sobbing. Like, I could not even swallow. I couldn't talk properly. My voice was so hoarse. So I was taking acetaminophen, ibuprofen to like help with swelling. I thought maybe it was allergies. I tried allergy medication. We went into the emergency room. They gave me steroids and they gave me antibiotics, and they're like, oh, you know, we're going to test you, make sure it's not strep throat. So they tested me and it came back negative, which I mean, I guess I'm relieved about because I didn't want anything that I could possibly like pass on to my kids, you know? Each emergency room visit, my copay is $100. Honestly, I want to say I'm so lucky because I know a lot of people that pay more than $100 for their copay for the emergency room. But I want to say, like, I was just so irritated that we even had to pay that. The second time I went in was because the steroids had kind of worn off already and my throat was starting to swell again. I want to say I went like maybe 24 hours where the swelling had kind of gone down. I want to say I went like maybe 12 hours and it wasn't like super painful. But the next day at night is when the pain started again and it was like excruciating. I couldn't swallow. I couldn't do anything. I was literally like drooling into a bag because I didn't want to swallow. Once again, we went right back to the ER. They ran a whole bunch of tests and that's just what it is. They did a CT scan on my throat. They did a x-ray. I want to say it's a soft tissue x-ray. I could be wrong on the terminology. I'd have to look back at the papers, but they did a soft tissue x-ray. They did say that there was like swelling in like the throat area. They didn't understand other than just to say that I had been throwing up so bad that my throat was so raw and that's probably why it was like swelling up. It was just like irritated and it probably was not helping that I was like getting dehydrated from not being able to swallow or anything. I got released. They gave me steroids, antibiotics. So I'm on that for like the next 5 days and hoping that the steroids kind of just like keep it down. And the antibiotics are really just so I don't get like an infection from like trying to eat and stuff with my throat being so raw. That's where I am, I guess, as far as the like update from that. We are talking to the restaurant that we went to. They have agreed to reimburse us for our costs as far as what we spent in our copays and my medication that I got. So I'm not trying to like pursue a lawsuit. I guess it could just like happen to anyone. You know what I mean? Anybody can get food poisoning. It can go this dramatic for anyone, but it just goes to show I don't think I'm ever going to stray from Texas Roadhouse like ever again. I don't know why I thought I wanted to be fancy. Well, I do know. My husband was irritating me at the time. It just kind of came and bit me in the ass. So I am a hardcore Texas Roadhouse girly, and I will never stray again.
Am I the asshole for not allowing the father of my child to be with me during the C-section? I'm expecting my second baby, and I've been a single mom for almost 14 years. I've been dating the father of this baby and became pregnant, unplanned. I had no intentions of starting over, and my biggest fear was being a single mom again. I let him know all of this when we first found out. He acted like he was super happy and excited to keep the baby. He started talking about marriage and engagement rings, buying a house, etc. But when I was 13 weeks, he texted me breaking up with me, saying that he never wanted this and to consider terminating the pregnancy. After that, he ghosted me and blocked me everywhere. Fast forward to the last month of my pregnancy. He came back wanting to be a part of the baby's appointments and baby-related stuff. I decided to put everything aside and to just think about the baby, so I allowed him to. I'm having a C-section because of other health issues, and today was the last appointment before the procedure. He decided to show up with his new girlfriend. When I asked if that was necessary, all he said was, "Let's keep it baby-related." Would I be the asshole if I don't allow him to be a part of the baby's birth? This person has repeatedly shown to have no consideration towards me, and that's not the support that I need. No, personally, I don't think he would be the asshole because we all know what he's doing. He is building this fantasy based on the lies that he's fed the new girlfriend. I would bet the shirt on my back that he did not tell this woman that he ghosted you 13 weeks into a pregnancy that he acted like he was excited about because he wasn't ready and this isn't what he wanted. No, absolutely not. You are not the lead supporting actress in whatever fucking fantasy movie he's trying to put on. He's just fucking disrespectful as fuck to even bring the new girlfriend to your appointment because fucking why? You don't know this bitch from a can of goddamn paint, yet he decides to bring her to your appointment after he broke up with you and told you that this isn't what he wanted. Why the fuck didn't he just stay gone? He could have left you to fuck alone. He really fucking could have. No, absolutely not. We are not going to feed into this. We're not going to give him the time of the day, and we are not going to give him our energy. Absolutely not. You already have the answers to your questions. You don't need me to give you the answers, babe, because in your very last sentence, you said, this person has repeatedly shown to have no consideration towards me, and that is not the support that I need. You already know, but I am going to give you the validation that you're looking for. Personally, my opinion, no, I do not think that you are the asshole for not wanting him to be around. because you are about to bring life into this fucking world. That is extremely stressful, and you only need people around that are going to support you. And if you have any type of inkling that he's going to give you any type of stress, he's going to make your ass itch in any way, shape, or fucking form, you are 100% entitled to not have him there. This is not about him. This is not about him. The most important people in the room are you and the baby. Your comfort will 100% come first.
Am I in the wrong for not tipping a waitress and giving her a reason as to why? I, male 48, was at a restaurant yesterday with a few of my friends. We usually go out and it all goes well. We always pay separately, and it's important to know that I always tip in usual cases, this not being one. So the beginning goes fairly well. The hostess takes us to our seats and the waitress comes out shortly after. We usually always joke around with the waitresses, so when she asks me if I would like something with my drink, I say, I suppose you aren't on the menu, so I'll just have my crab cakes, unfortunately. She didn't laugh at my joke though. I found this to show her lack of both service but also interest and attention to the guests she works to serve. Other waitresses usually laugh or joke about, but I decided to let it slide. The second thing that led up to a no tip was that it took a long time for her to bring out the food, which to me yet again shows her lack of service and attention. The third was that we already had time to finish our appetizer before she came back to check on us. Had something been wrong with our food, she would not have known. The fourth thing was that she served my friend a medium steak, though he asked for medium rare. The fifth was that she forgot about my drink order and I had to remind her. She did not notice by herself. The sixth was that almost every time me or one of my friends tried to joke with her, she didn't laugh. She did not smile. She just looked like we disgusted her. The experience was not all nice, and I fully believe it was due to the service we had. All of my friends and me agreed that no one would tip her due to how we felt both forgotten about, mistreated, and overall service. When we were paying, I told her that I assumed that she would realize, but I would like to explain to her why we decided not to tip her. I told her almost everything and explained that we all usually leave good tips so that she knows she missed out. She just stares at me and told me, "Okay, have a nice rest of your evening, sweetheart." This ticked me off, but we all decided to leave. When I told my wife and her daughter about this today, they both asked me what was wrong with me. Not only did I not tip her and explain, but also for how me and my friends had treated her. I asked her what was wrong with our treatment, as no other waitress ever found something wrong with it. They told me that I should really think about it all again, and that if I can't find anything wrong with it, to think harder. I'm at a loss for words, as the only people to even think I did something wrong are my wife and her daughter. All my friends fully believe that we were in the right here. Was it really that wrong of me not to tip and explain why? If I do something inappropriate or wrong that affects my work or customer satisfaction, I would like to know. That's something that I think should go for waitresses too.
This is actually an update from the corn addict's wife.
I wanted to clarify a few things. I've spoken to him about how it makes me feel multiple times, feeling like I'm not good enough when he's consciously choosing to look at half-naked women. As a woman, it's very hard to overlook this fact during intercourse, knowing he may be thinking of another woman. I would also like to clarify that when I have approached how I felt, he said he will try to do his best to do better. I have implemented a solution where he can leave his phone out of the bathroom to avoid aimlessly coming across this fitna. However, he's also addicted to taking his phone in the bathroom as well, and I saw no sign of him trying his best to leave it out. Moreover, I would also like to clarify the statement that all men do this was not the statement of my own, but his own words that all men do this, and if they tell you they don't, they are lying. He also claims it has nothing to do with me. He also mentioned I am more than satisfying his needs. He resorts to this as a self-care thing. Divorce is the last thing I would ever want to resort to, especially if I see that he's willing and wants to do better, but I see very little signs of it. It would be very helpful for the Muslim men to comment in this section.
Am I the asshole for asking my friend to move a picture of him and his wife because it made my wife uncomfortable? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I, 32 male, my wife Delilah, 28 female, lost our apartment 2 months ago and moved in with my mom temporarily. Issues began to arise between Delilah and my mom, and I had to ask my friend Anthony, male 31, to let us move in until I get enough money to rent out. His wife was away visiting family and he agreed, but even there some issues started to arise. Delilah is very shy around Anthony. She grew up in a conservative home, so it's understandable, but sometimes it can be a bit too much. For example, she freaked out when she accidentally drank from his glass. She also once made a fuss when he passed by the guest room when she was laying down with the door open. Thankfully, Anthony was super understanding and we were able to talk some of these issues out. Last night, Delilah was passing the hall and noticed a framed picture of Anthony and his wife kissing hanging on the wall. She told me about it and said it made her uncomfortable. She asked if I would speak to Anthony about it, but he didn't take it well. Am I the asshole for asking my friend to move a picture of him and his wife because it made my wife uncomfortable? Disclaimer, this is not my story. He gave me a look when I spoke to him and said that it was bonkers because first of all, his wife put it there. And second of all, the picture holds sentimental meaning to him and his wife and argued that it wasn't some explicit picture of them, just a normal wedding kiss. I asked him to be a little more considerate because it's not like I asked him to remove it completely, just move it elsewhere that Delilah won't reach or keep it off the wall till we leave. He said he was sorry but still refused. I explained how Delilah was feeling, but he said that again he was sorry but he wouldn't move the picture. We argued more. He said it was his house and I was being pushy and too comfortable to make such a demand. This morning, Delilah refused to even come out of the room until the picture was moved. Anthony is still refusing, which makes it even worse. She might be overreacting, but I feel like it isn't such a big deal. If it were me, I'd go the extra mile to make sure my guests are comfortable. We've been friends for 10 years and I wouldn't have asked to move in with him if we didn't have a strong bond.
Am I wrong for telling my sister to stop saying I have pretty privilege and it's her fault she looks ugly? I have a sister who is 25 and I'll call her Tessa. I'm just gonna be blunt and say I look better than her. This is due to her not taking care of herself, and when I say that, I mean when I was staying active, she wasn't. I spend money to get skincare and hair care and she doesn't even dress nice either. She's always in sweats even if she's going somewhere nice, and overall, I just look better. And I do want to mention for her, money is not a limiting factor. Anyways, every time I see her, she'll comment about the way I look. If I tell a story that turns out good for me, she'll say it's because I'm pretty and so on. I assume she's jealous and we have had conversations about this. Now I passed my test to get my license for my job, so I was telling the story at dinner and she told me I passed because I'm pretty. I had enough and told her to stop saying it's pretty privilege and that it's her fault she looks ugly, not mine. That's when she left and called me the C word.
Here is the story time of my first experience with like a true LA influencer. Since moving to LA, or even just since becoming an influencer in general. I honestly fucking hate that word, I'm not gonna lie. But since that, I've heard a lot of like, oh, it's such a fake world, people are crazy, all these things, and I was like, I never really believed any of that because every influencer I've met, I honestly don't have any negative experiences with. I'm also not really in the influencer world. Like, I don't live in like the depths of West Hollywood and I'm like collabing with everyone. Like, that's not my vibe. I just like to talk shit with my girls. This all came about when Nicole and I went to an event together. The fucking Sunday night, and Nicole's bitch ass, of course, was like, let's go out. Like, let's go out. I really didn't want to go out. And everyone we're at the event with was like, no, like, I have an early morning. I can't really go out. Except this one girl. She's like, let's go out. And I was like, I finally convinced them. I was like, let's just like do a dinner. Like, let's just go to dinner. The moment we sit down at this dinner, I know everything's about to go downhill. This girl non-stop starts talking about her ex. Just like a little backstory, Nicole and I are definitely the type of girlies that are like, you don't need no man. Like, we will help anyone through like a rough situation. Like, we will be like, girl, like, let's make a game plan. Let's get you out of this shit. Keep that in mind. Girl starts like oversharing how she's the other woman in her ex's relationship and how she's fine with it. And Nicole and I are just kind of like, wait a fucking minute, what is happening? And I kid you not, she would ask like one question about me and I would be like, oh yeah, like this happens. And then she would immediately be like, and back to my ex. Like, I know this girl knows absolutely nothing about me, but let me tell you, I could write a fucking thesis statement on her and her ex-boyfriend. Things I know. Nobody should ever know that many things. And it came to the point where I was like, I nudged Nicole and I was like, I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm like, if Nicole would just have listened to me. And I, even as we were driving to the restaurant, I was like, let's just go to the Cheesecake Factory, you and I, and just have a time and grub together. No, Nicole needed to get drinks and we needed to hang out with this girl. And I could just tell on Nicole's vibe too. Her and I were both like, wow, oh my God. You know it's bad when like the stories she's telling us, we're like, what the fuck? Like, we're not even trying to help her get out of it. We're just sitting there like this, like, I cannot believe the things that are coming out of this bitch's mouth. There was no energy in me to be like, girl, you don't need that. That girl wanted that man. There was nothing I could do to help her get rid of it. That's not the bad part. This girl brings up Ozempic. Listen, I get Ozempic's huge in Hollywood. Everyone loves Ozempic. I don't really give a fuck about Ozempic. I'm also not like, I don't want to be on Ozempic. And there's Cole sure as fuck doesn't want to be on Ozempic. This girl is on Ozempic. There's nothing wrong with that. Until she tries to convince us to get on Ozempic. The way this girl is talking about Ozempic, as if she's like in a pyramid scheme for it and she like needs to sell it to us kind of thing. Like, that is the way that she's describing Ozempic to us. And Nicole and I are kind of just sitting there like, like twiddling our thumbs, like what the fuck do we do? I'm getting an earful on fucking Ozempic. I'm getting all the pros of Ozempic, how amazing it is, all these things I never asked. And also, Nicole and I are like previous eating disorder girlies. Like the last thing I want to do is hear about Ozempic while I'm shoving my face full of pizza because I'm a fucking hungry bitch. Like I've worked too hard in my eating disorder recovery to be like fucking at an MLL scheme trying to get, like, this bitch trying to get me on Ozempic, like as if it's her job to be an Ozempic dealer. I would get it if I asked about Ozempic, but when I tell you I don't give a single fuck about Ozempic, I don't give a single fuck about Ozempic. Don't forget, it's a Sunday night. This lovely couple sits down next to us, like this elderly couple. They're just there to have a good fucking dinner. And this girl is screaming. She's like, yeah, like when I went to go get my stuff from my ex, like he just had his out. Listen, I'm a girl that overshares. I'm not gonna judge you for oversharing whatsoever. But at this point of the dinner, I was fucking done. And the poor couple next to us, just trying to enjoy the goddamn pasta, has to hear about her ex's throbbing hard in her face. I could just tell Nicole was so fed up. Nicole did something I've literally never seen her do. She was like, where's the check? Like, we just need to get the check and get out of here. The thing is, I'm not even sharing with you guys, like, the depths of it, of, like, the things that I've seen. I've seen pictures and videos that will never leave my mind. I'm not well. Nicole and I get in our Uber and I'm like, Nicole, I'm gonna fuck you up for that one. And she was like, how was I supposed to know? I was like, I don't know, maybe the only person that was like really down to go out on a Sunday. And we were just like Nicole was like, I really wanted dessert. I was like, bitch, same, like I really wanted dessert. But I couldn't sit there another second. Like it was just getting so bad. That was my first experience with an LA influencer. And let's just say, like, I'm good. I'm sticking to my people and I'm good.
Am I the asshole for not wanting my boyfriend to bring his husky on vacation with us?
That's a huge dog. That's a human.
Yep. My 34 female boyfriend, 35 male, and I have been together 1.5 years, and he has a 9-year-old husky. I've been trying to plan a getaway/vacation together since we started dating. At first, every time I would mention going away, he would either want to bring his dog with him or tell me he can't put her in a kennel or dog sitter, etc. because she wasn't spayed. She was finally spayed 9 months ago. I will be honest, I can't stand his dog. She doesn't listen ever unless you raise your voice at her, which he deals with. She doesn't eat her food and will let herself starve for XYZ reason. She runs away every chance she gets when let out. She will run away while next to her. She is horrible to walk. She pulls like there's no tomorrow. She also tries to jump on people in the street and run after dogs, cats, squirrels, etc. She jumps on you when you come in, will sit on you if you let her on the bed or couch, so I no longer allow her on my bed. You can't crate her because she destroys the crate. You also can't have doors closed because she has destroyed door frames. For all these reasons, I refuse to have her come with us anywhere on vacation.
Dog's monster.
I would break up with him over this dog.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
One of my exes had this like little Yorkshire rat dog, and the dog would just nonstop bark and like hate it when I was with him. And whenever I was alone, I'd be like, I don't love you like he does. I'll put you in the fucking closet. Like this dog was so like, and with nip and just like would not shut the like we were watching TV and the dog would bark for like 10 minutes and I'd be like, are we gonna do something? And it's not hot when your boyfriend's just yelling at an animal. I'm like, is this the relationship? Whenever we hang out, just you yelling at your dog?
It's such an ick.
Such an ick. Anyway, sorry, continue.
To me, that is not a vacation. It will not be relaxing. We will prevent ourselves from doing things, and she may destroy an Airbnb or hotel room if left alone. He, however, wants to do a pet-friendly vacation. He has no family or friends who could watch her, so the only option would be
They're available, they just don't want to. Let's be honest. They're like, ooh, my grandma's sick.
So the only option would be a kennel or dog sitter or some form of that. All of that makes him nervous, and he called me an asshole for not wanting to bring her along. So am I the asshole for not wanting to take a pet-friendly vacation?
You know who's the fucking asshole? The dog. This dog has crossed the line so many times.
And it's 9. Can't really change this dog overnight.
But then also he's the asshole for not fucking training his dog.
Yeah.
A husky.
This thing belongs on a sled team.
This dog belongs with the reindeer, with Santa, doing something like that,
delivering
and not
presents,
being a cute pet. Like, what are you gonna take it to the beach? Vacations for relaxing, not like fighting for your life with your dog.
This dog's a terrorist.
I do have to say, I grew up with cats, but I do love dogs.
Yeah,
and we'd like foster pit bulls and stuff. I know I'm an incredible person. Some people talk about how much they love their dog, and then when I'm with them, all they do is yell at their dog to like, get off this, stop eating this, and I'm like, is this fun?
Yeah.
Or do you just like saying you have a dog?
Am I the asshole for not letting my dad get a paternity test? So my dad wants to get a paternity test because he's recently gotten convinced that I'm not his real daughter. My mom ran away to another country with some guy when I was 8 years old, and lately my dad has gotten really sure that she was cheating on him long before that, and I'm actually someone else's baby. He keeps talking about how paternity fraud is a big issue, and he needs a paternity test to be sure that he's not getting suckered into raising another man's kid. I don't know why this is only coming up now, and honestly, it's really hurting my feelings that he's like, I don't think that you're really my kid. I'm biased, obviously, but I don't think I'm a difficult kid. I get good grades, I don't drink or do drugs or smoke, I don't talk back, and I do my chores. Even though I'm pretty sure I am his real daughter, I'm kinda scared of what might happen if we find out that I'm not. Like, would he stop caring about me? Would he kick me out? I have nowhere to go. So even though he's fully set on getting a test, I'm refusing and he's mad about it. I told him that I would consider doing it when I'm 18, but apparently he needs it right now. Am I the asshole?
Story time about how I almost got kidnapped at a grocery store. So a little background information, I was 16 and it was during the summertime, and I was super excited because I had just got my license. My parents had this idea that if they made me drive around and do all their errands, that I would be a better driver. So I was pretty much like their BITCH. Anyway, so the one night my mom wanted to make this recipe that she saw on TikTok, and she didn't have the right seasonings for it, so who did she tell to go to the store? Yours truly, me. And on Sundays, the mini market that was in our town would close at 4 o'clock. So I had to drive like 30 minutes away to the nearest Target. And when I got there, I had to park in the back because they had like 10 handicap spaces up front, another 10 for when you sit there and they bring your shit out to you, and another 5 whenever you're picking something up that you already ordered. But in all honesty, that didn't bother me because I had never heard about any girls getting trafficked at a grocery store. So like I said, I parked all the way in the back of the parking lot. I mean, okay, not all the way in the back, but I was damn near close. So I go in, and I'm not too familiar with this Target. I've only been here a few times because the mini market in my hometown is usually the one that I go to. So I'm looking around, and I realize that there's this little girl following me. But it seemed like she was more like keeping an eye on me. Like she would stand like 20 feet behind me, but just like stare at me, you know, peek through the aisles. And she had did that for like 10 minutes, but whenever I finally went up to the checkout, she was gone, and this woman came up to me. She was like, oh my gosh, have you seen my daughter? She was running around the store. I don't know where she is. So I described the little girl to her that I saw. And she was like, yeah, that's her. I can't find her. Will you please help me look for her? And I didn't have the time for this because my parents were going to wring my neck. So like I said, she asked me to help look for her daughter. And I was like, I'm going to go tell a Target employee. And she was like, no, don't worry. They're all already looking. They have security all over the place. And she was like, will you help me check the parking lot? Because I don't know if she left. She was like, I've been having them look for the past 10 minutes. So I didn't think anything of this because I didn't think that some lady would try to kidnap me. So I went into the parking lot with her and I'm like, okay, where do you think she would have went? Like, did you drive here? Did she maybe go to the car? She was like, no, we live like 5 minutes down the road. Do you think that we could get in your car and drive around? And I said, yeah, because I thought that it would speed up the process. And my dad's truck was really high off the ground. So while we're walking, I'm like, I think someone's under my car. And she was like, what? No, it's probably just the shadow. And I'm like, no, there's someone under my car. So I turn around to walk back into the store and she starts like pulling my arm towards my car. So an employee called the police whenever I went in there, and long story short, they were trying to kidnap me. Story time about how my grandma almost got me grounded. A little background information, I was 14 and in 8th grade, and there was this boy that I really liked who lived like 10 minutes away from me. So the one night he asked me if I wanted to hang out, and my mom was strict about me not hanging out with people after 7 o'clock at night, especially a boy. I wasn't even allowed to hang out with boys. And my grandma, my mom, and my brother and I all lived together, and we all had our own rooms. Mine was on the first floor of the house, so I snuck out the window and I went and hung out with him. So I snuck out at around 3 and came back at around 4 a.m. And my grandma comes into my room to wake me up for school. And I guess that I had been laying on my side and my hair was like pulled up. Because literally all I remember waking up to is her smacking me up out of my sleep and screaming at me. because there was a hickey on my neck. She's like, I'm telling your mom whenever she gets home, your window's gonna be screwed shut. And I keep telling her it's not a hickey, so she calls my brother over. And he's like, yeah, that's definitely a hickey, because he likes to kiss her ass. So like I said, she's like, I'm telling your mom, and I keep telling her that it's not a hickey. And thankfully, my mom already went to work. She had work at 6 a.m. So I got on the bus, I go to school, and I'm talking to my friend and telling her about how I'm literally going to be crucified whenever I get home. And she told me about how her older sister was in like the same situation that I'm in now. So she texted her older sister asking what she did because she never got caught. And I was like, okay, well, if she used makeup, my mom's going to find out because she's not dumb. Well, apparently her older sister burnt herself with a curling iron. Yes, literally burnt herself. But she ended up getting away with it. So fast forward, I get home at around 3 o'clock and I sneak in through the back door so that way my grandma won't see that I came in the house, because she literally would have made me sit in the living room until my mom got home. So I go upstairs and I burn myself with a curling iron, which is not fun. So like I said, I snuck in through the back door so that way my grandma wouldn't see me, because if she saw me, she would have made me wait in the living room with her until my mom got home. So, you know, burnt myself with a curling iron and my mom gets home. And since I'm on the first floor, I can literally hear my grandma talking to my mom and my brother, of course. My grandma's like, yeah, she has hickeys all over her neck, which is literally an exaggeration because there was one small one. So my mom calls me out to the living room. I go out and she's like, all right, show it to me. And I'm like, show you what? She's like, don't play stupid. Your grandma already told me the whole situation. And I was like, Mom, I literally burnt myself with a curling iron. And my grandma's like screaming and freaking out because I'm lying. She's like, you better tell your mother the truth right now. Da 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 da. So I show the burn to my mom. She looks at my grandma and she's like, so you're gonna tell me that's not a burn on her neck? And she was like, that's not how it looked this morning, blah, blah, blah. So I got away with it, but now my grandma literally stalks me to see if I'm doing anything wrong so she can tell my mom.
Was I wrong for not including my sister-in-law in photos during my bachelorette party? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list the source in the caption of this video. I'm getting married, and my brother John asked me to include his girlfriend Sarah as a bridesmaid as a way to get her involved with our family since he wants to propose soon. I wasn't happy. She's quite snobbish, almost in a comically villainous way. Once she made fun of the fact that I get most of my groceries from a local big box supercenter and not somewhere with more high quality product. But I love John and it mattered to him a lot, so I agreed. On to the issue. On the final night of my bachelorette party, we decided to have one big meal that was really pricey and fancy that we all saved up for. Sarah said she had to take an emergency work meeting and for us to go ahead. The restaurant was a walkable distance from a hotel. Guys, when Sarah showed up, I was floored. She came in a white sparkly sequin number with a tulle skirt and a tiara. When we were planning the trip, my maid of honor made it abundantly clear that everyone was supposed to wear pink so that we could get a really cute photo together at the restaurant. I'm not even kidding. Her outfit was so bridal looking that the waitress actually asked if we were having a joint bachelorette party. I was so upset that when it came time to take photos, I absolutely refused to have Sarah in them. She said it wasn't her fault because she didn't get the memo, but I told her it was common sense to not wear a bridal-looking dress to a bachelorette party if you're not the bride. Plus, she was in a group chat and even made comments about another girl's outfit when we were talking about what we wanted to wear, so she knew. All of my friends were on my side, and they made sure she didn't end up in the photos. When we got home, she pitched a fit to my brother, saying that we bullied her at my party and deliberately left her out. She was also pissed because a lot of family and friends noticed that she wasn't in the photos, and I wasn't afraid to tell them exactly why. My brother's really upset though, because she's been crying and whining about it nonstop since. Apparently they're both so mad that they're gonna skip Father's Day brunch, so the whole thing is blowing up even more. I'm starting to feel bad because my mom told me that my brother and Sarah were fighting a lot now. So I'm not so sure if I'm in the wrong here. My brother called me a bridezilla, but I feel like Sarah was really trying to ruin my night. So, was I wrong for not including my sister-in-law in photos during my bachelorette party? I've been sleeping with my mom's fiance, and I don't know how to tell her. I, 22 female, met my soon-to-be stepdad, Christian, 37 male, about 8 months ago at a bar near my college. As you can imagine, our first encounter was a drunken one-night stand. The next weekend, when I went back with my friends, he was there again. This time we exchanged phone numbers before we went back to my place again. Even though it started off as sex, it quickly became more, and about a month after meeting, we officially started dating. I know that the age gap is pretty excessive, but I had hearts in my eyes when I was around him, and I thought that the feeling was mutual. We lived a few towns over, same town as my mom, 39 female actually, but I never connected the dots. Since
because we had only been seeing each other for a few months, I never thought to bring him up to my mom. About 2 weeks ago, I went over to my mom's house to pick her up for a lunch date. During lunch, she brought up her new boyfriend. I honestly wasn't paying much attention because I was texting Christian. I congratulated her and I asked when I could meet him. We set up a dinner for the following weekend. The dinner was 3 days ago. I can't explain how I kept it together when I walked into the kitchen and I saw him holding my mother from behind. I will say though, his face was priceless when he saw me walk into that kitchen. And had I had this big, elaborate gotcha plan, I would have been amused. Instead, I pretended that I was just meeting him for the first time and introduced myself. We had a dinner, and I will say it was extremely awkward. When my mom walked me to the car, she mentioned it and hoped that I wasn't too uncomfortable. She told me she didn't know what had gotten into him, because everyone who met him could attest to what a fun, life-of-the-party kind of guy he was. Little did she know that's exactly how me and my friends would describe him as well. Now, my mom and I have never been close, especially after my dad died 5 years ago. But I never thought that I would end up in some twisted form of a Cornhub skit. She normally calls me a few times a week just to touch bases in a 5-minute catch-up. But now I have been avoiding her calls for the last week, and even went to stay at a friend's place to avoid Christian after he showed up to my place to try and explain himself. Can you believe he even had the audacity to cry? Like he was the victim in all of this. I have zero interest in hearing any of his pathetic excuses, but how do I even begin to tell my mom? She already had her heart broken after my father's death. I honestly want to just pretend I never met him so she can stay in her happy little bubble, but she deserves the truth. That's some fuckboy.
Am I the asshole for telling my best friend his girlfriend is disgusting? I, 22 female, have been friends with Danny, 22 male, since high school. He recently moved in with his girlfriend, Lucy, 22 female. They had a housewarming party on Friday, and Lucy spent most of the night dancing with her friends who are very like her. They're all excitable extroverts, and they drag Danny away from his conversations with us to dance even though he's more like us. Later, Danny was being quiet, so I asked if he was okay, and he said he was just tired. But he just kept watching Lucy dancing and then said something in her ear the next time she came over, and she just shook her head and laughed at him. So I asked him if it was bothering him how she was behaving. Am I the asshole for telling my best friend his girlfriend is disgusting? I mentioned the attention-seeking dancing and the fact that she was wearing something really revealing even though other guys were at this party. Danny said it didn't bother him and then sat down with a moody face. At the end of the night, Lucy sat down with us and started chatting non-stop about how amazing the party had been. I jokingly mentioned that Danny looked miserable, and he told her I was worried about the outfit. Lucy ruffled his hair and said he was quiet because he loved her outfit so much and couldn't wait for us all to leave so he could drag her to bed. I said to Danny I'd leave if she was just going to be disgusting, and Lucy laughed at me, so I did. But now he wants an apology. Am I the asshole for continuing to sleep nude despite my neighbors being able to see into my house? I, 28 male, have been living in my house for a few years now. One of the main reasons I chose this place was because my bedroom faced east, allowing me to wake up to morning sunlight. Most mornings, I wake up before my alarm goes off because the sunlight wakes me up. There used to be a tree line that provided a natural barrier between my house and any potential neighbors, so I never saw a need for curtains or blinds. Recently, my neighborhood expanded and most of that tree line is cut down due to new houses. So boom, then there's a house built right across from mine and their window has a clear view into my bedroom. And yes, I sleep nude. Am I the asshole for continuing to sleep nude despite my neighbors being able to see into my bedroom? Not long after they moved in, the father from the house came over to my house and pretty much told me to stop being nude in front of my windows. He said his family can see inside my bedroom and wasn't nice about it at all. But he wasn't mean either, just matter-of-factly like he gave me an order and fully expected it to be done. Like I was his kid or his employee. I was surprised but understood his concerns, so I made an effort to be more mindful of my nudity. That being said, I still sleep nude and occasionally end up being visible to the neighbors for a brief moment after waking up. The father is telling me to completely stop and threaten calling the cops. Am I the asshole for having a dry wedding and serving only water for drinks? My husband and I are getting married later this year, and each of our sides of the family are fairly big. It'll be 150 people, and my husband and I are paying for this ourselves, as well as my grandmother. We have a lot of kids in our family, so we decided against making it child-free, but we decided to make it dry. There will be no alcohol of any kind, and honestly, this doesn't have anything to do with there being kids, but because me and my fiance don't drink. On top of that, we really only drink water, and we rarely, if ever, drink soda, so most of the time, it's only water. Am I the asshole for having a dry wedding and serving only water for drinks? Obviously, the food, which is a part my grandma is paying for, is going to be expensive for that many people. There will also be so many choices to choose from, but only water will be provided. We don't want to pay for alcohol or soda, and it's just a large added expense when we can do filtered water for a much cheaper cost. Well, when my family and friends found out, some of them got really angry. They said we could have at least had an open bar, or we should have at least had soda, because how can we expect everyone to drink only water? The kids will be upset and the wedding will be boring. Am I the asshole for telling my child's daycare teacher that my child doesn't have to finish cleaning up? My 2-year-old daughter has been in a home daycare for a few months now. The teacher, Sasha, is very nice, and I'm normally all for my daughter cleaning her own messes. However, when I arrive, Sasha expects my daughter to finish cleaning up whatever she was playing with, which would be fine, but it delays us getting out the door, heading home, and sometimes we have plans. I started texting Sasha beforehand, asking her to get my daughter ready, and that seemed to work. She'd be in a jacket and reading a book, which was easy to put away versus a huge project. Things were great until today. Am I the asshole for telling my child's daycare teacher that my child won't finish cleaning up? Things were crazy and I was in a rush, and we had a lot to do this afternoon, and I was running behind because I had car trouble. When I arrived, my daughter and some friends were in the middle of cleaning up a big mess. I told my daughter we had to go and to get her coat. That's when Sasha said she needed to finish cleaning up her part, and I said any other day, sure, but I'm running late and we can't miss this appointment. Sasha tried arguing that kids need to learn responsibility, and I flat out said no. Then I grabbed my daughter, put her coat on, and left. Now she's accusing me of undermining her authority and gave me a verbal warning.
Am I the asshole for cutting my infertile sister out of my life? My sister is 4 years older than me, and she's been struggling with infertility and miscarriages for most of her adult life. It even led to the end of her first marriage. I knew that her younger sister having kids before her would be salt in her wounds. That's why I chose to be so accommodating when pregnant with my first, which I now deeply regret. She demanded that I not announce my pregnancy on social media and never post any baby-related things since she had a miscarriage 2 months prior. I caved. When it came time for the baby shower, I privately told her that I completely understood if she didn't want to come. In response, she had a meltdown and demanded I cancel it entirely. I told her no, and she threatened to hurt herself, so I caved. When I started to show, she said my baby bump was hard to look at. I found that reasonable and took every measure to hide it. I limited our contact and made sure the few interactions we had were virtual only. However, that wasn't enough. She didn't want me at any family events. Our parents had enough backbone and demanded I come anyways. When we were at a family barbecue, people were asking about my pregnancy, and I happily answered them. My sister was enraged by this and accused us of being insensitive monsters. My husband finally lost it and told her that if she didn't stop screaming in my face, he would move her. My sister demanded that I and my violent husband never come to a family event again. I hoped this was temporary and she would see the reason when my son was born. So my husband and I didn't go to any more events. Part 2. Am I the asshole for cutting my infertile sister out of my life? Even when my parents pleaded with us to go, things got worse when my baby finally arrived. After months of following my sister's embargo, I decided I had enough. So I posted pictures of our baby and his name announcement and sent text messages to my family members. I didn't contact her and I blocked her account just so she wouldn't be bombarded by it. But she found out anyways. My sister then proceeded to blow up my phone with name calling. I was in pain, exhausted, and just wanted to rest with my baby, but I was met with constant phone calls and horrible text messages. My husband finally blocked her number so I could have some peace. The final straw was when she tried to forbid my baby from coming to family events, even asked to meet up with me for coffee without him. I was not going to allow my baby to go through the same isolation and eggshell walking that I did, so I unloaded on her. I told her that she ruined my pregnancy. I explained how she stole one of the most joyous parts of my life away from me for her own selfishness. Our family members are trying to get us to reconcile. Our parents think I was too harsh. So, am I the asshole for cutting my infertile sister out of my life? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Am I wrong for kicking out one of my bridesmaids after showing up in the wrong dress? My 23 female wedding was last Saturday, and I'm still getting backlash from this, so I want to know if this was an asshole move. In the country I live in, it's currently winter, and we get a fair amount of snow, so my wedding was a winter-themed wedding. The color theme was forest green and gold. My dress was obviously white, and I chose the color of my bridesmaids' dresses to be forest green as well. My maid of honor's dress was black, and everyone was to wear gold accessories. I have this friend, we'll call her Kat, that I asked to be one of my bridesmaids. When we went dress shopping and I told them the color theme I was going for, Kat immediately expressed that she thought forest green was a bad choice. She thinks it's not a flattering color and thought I should choose something different and more girly. I said no because my wedding was winter themed and I thought the color would go perfect with the theme. She suggested a pink, blue, even a red. I said no, but thanks for your opinion. She found out that my maid of honor's dress was black and asked if she could wear black too. I said no, only my maid of honor is wearing black. I paid for all of the dresses. Fast forward to wedding day. Everyone's getting their hair and makeup done, and Kat shows up 30 minutes late holding a bag that looked like it had a dress inside. I asked her what this was for, and she told me it was for later on at the reception if she got uncomfortable and wanted to change after pictures. I was like, okay, cool. So fast forward, we're all dressed and walking down the stairs because the ceremony is beginning in 30 minutes and we were going to take some pictures before. Kat is the last person to come down and she's wearing a black dress. At the time, I was preoccupied taking pictures with my parents, but my maid of honor came over to me and made me aware of the situation. I confronted Kat and asked her what was going on. She said she hates her bridesmaid dress and the color is ugly and makes her look gross, so she's wearing black. I told her, please go back and change. She refused and started walking away from me. I said I'm going to ask her one more time, and if she doesn't oblige, I'm calling security and kicking her out. She began yelling at me to fuck off, so I called Wait, what? She told you to fuck off? What? She began yelling at me to fuck off, so I called security and asked them to please escort her out. She started making a big scene, yelling how I'm such a bitch and that I can't force her to wear anything and that I'm a horrible, inconsiderate friend. I want to know why this girl's your friend in the first place. From the beginning, she's been giving off bad vibes. Like, the wedding went on and it was truly amazing. Ever since the wedding, Kat has been blowing up my phone with texts, saying some really nasty things and asking for the money back she spent on the black dress since it was a waste and she didn't get to wear it. I had to block her number. Some of my other bridesmaids have been giving me shit, saying that it was a little harsh kicking her out and embarrassing her like that, and that maybe I should give her the money back. So, am I the asshole for kicking her out? Why should you have to pay her back for a dress that she went out by herself to go buy after she already had a dress that she committed to? Not my problem. That's your fault. Why did you think you could wear black to my wedding when I said no? Hello? Am I wrong for letting my son get fast food and bringing it into a wedding reception? I mean, if he's like a kid, like a toddler, and like they're hard to like see, then yeah, I would understand, but... My son, 22 male, is a picky eater. Is a 22-year-old? Then no. Out the door. My cousin was getting married and had a lovely reception with a nice buffet. Johnny wasn't a fan of what was served, so I let him leave and get some food. Word spread amongst our family where he was going, and a few people asked him to bring things back, so he did. We were at a table near the dance floor, and you could probably smell it there, but nobody in our immediate family had a problem, even the bride or groom. Apparently, the venue and the family of the bride were appalled, and I don't understand why. It was a great party, so he wanted something different, and other people did too. Okay, so like in our culture, if we were to have a wedding, we have buffet style too. And if it's a kid, it's a different story, right? Kids are picky, I get it. But if I saw a guest at my wedding or I was at my sister's wedding go and bring McDonald's, I think that's like a sign of disrespect, because it's like my food wasn't good enough for you. Like, you know what? Your shit was nasty. I'm gonna go get outside food. I go to McDonald's all the time after the wedding, right? If I'm still hungry, but I wouldn't do it during the wedding because it's just rude. It's like etiquette. He's 22. Grow up. Ma'am, I don't like it. It's a big, I don't like it. Come on. He's 22 years old and in college. He has no medical issues, he just has a limited palate. When I said I meant let him take my car since we all rode together. The food was served buffet style. A nice soup, salad, tenderloin, barbecue beef, pasta, a few other selections. It was actually really good wedding food. You're not making your case stronger. Like I said, if you were hungry after, go after the wedding. Everyone else who partook in the fast food did so because, well, it was there and tasted good. They didn't have a problem with the venue's food. Also, as some people said, 1 or 2 chicken bones did end up in the floor in the venue. That was unfortunate. Do better. You're wrong.
Am I the asshole for getting my friend's child taken off them? I, 27 female, and my partner, 29 male, had a long day after work and decided we were going to have a glass of wine at home. I got a FaceTime call from my friend Lucy, 34 female. She was with her partner and we were all having a laugh over FaceTime. It was about 11 p.m. at night, and Lucy asked if we wanted to go over there for a few drinks. We both agreed, and I said I would pick up drinks and see her there. By the time we got there, Lucy was on her own. Lucy let us in, and we were chatting, having drinks. I had seen on the side that there were 3 empty bottles of wine from before we got there. Next thing I know, baby's crying. Lucy's 6-month-old daughter was upstairs, so she brought her down. I immediately stopped drinking. I didn't want to drink when there was a baby in the house. However, my partner and Lucy continued. Anyway, about an hour passes, and Lucy said she needed to nip out for 15 minutes and ring a taxi. I asked where she was going, and she said that she was going to meet someone and she'd be back soon. Would I mind watching her daughter? I obviously said I didn't mind as long as she came back. Lucy left, an hour passed, and I tried to get a hold of her. I finally managed to get through. She proceeded to ask me, Part 2. Am I the asshole for getting a friend's child taken off them? I managed to get through. She proceeded to ask me if I could ring her a taxi and said some address that I didn't hear because she was so drunk. I asked her to text it to me and she didn't. I didn't hear from her again that night. 40 calls later, and by this point it's 6 a.m. The baby has woken up and is screaming. Me and my partner don't have kids, so I didn't know what to do. I couldn't find nappies. She's on formula. It was a nightmare. In the end, we waited until 7 a.m. and tried to comfort the poor baby. She wouldn't stop crying. It got to the point where we needed to ring the police. When they arrived, they tried to contact her and couldn't get through. We managed to get in contact with her father over Facebook. It was about 8:30 a.m. and I received a message, "Where is my baby?" I told her what happened and asked where she was. Nothing. She just kept repeating, "Where is my child?" The father then came to pick up the child and I explained the situation. The police asked for my account of what happened. We were told to drive home and if they needed anything else, they would call us. The father has taken her to court and she hasn't seen her child in 6 months. She messages me every now and again from a new number asking me if I'm happy I'm the reason she's not got her child yet. It's getting to the point where it's harassment. I've blocked her on everything, yet she still finds a way. I can't help but feel so guilty in case I did the wrong thing. So, am I the asshole for getting a friend's child taken off them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Am I the asshole for bringing my sister-in-law's wallet to the restaurant when she conveniently always forgets it? My 28 female sister-in-law Amy, 26 female, always comes to visit from out of town. She stays with us instead of a hotel and always wants to go to expensive restaurants. She always conveniently forgets her wallet or comes up with some excuse as to why she can't pay her share. She has implied that since I make much more money than her, I should be the one to pay. No, not my husband should pay, but me specifically. I do make a fair amount of money, but not so much that I can treat someone every time they come into town. Nonetheless, in the past, I have just paid the bill and asked her to pay me back. She never has. She had made a reservation at an extremely expensive restaurant last night, and before we left, I made it clear that I wouldn't be paying her bill. This is where I might be the asshole, and I'll admit, I got this move straight out of an episode of 2.5 Men. When we were leaving, her and my husband went to the car. I pretended I forgot something and went back inside. I found her wallet sitting on top of her suitcase. I put it in my purse and we went to the restaurant. When we were done eating, I asked for separate bills. She said, no, we only need one bill because she forgot her wallet again. I reached into my purse, pulled it out and said, this wallet? She was extremely furious. She said that I shouldn't have touched or grabbed her wallet. So, am I the asshole? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Update. Am I the asshole for bringing my sister-in-law's wallet to the restaurant when she conveniently always forgets it? From the sister-in-law's perspective. This is Amy. My friend told me she saw this post and everyone is saying I'm a leech. The thing my sister-in-law did not tell you all is that she has no problem paying for her sisters and always singles me out and expects me to always pay. She takes her sisters out to restaurants and never makes them pay. Ever since she got with my brother has been so cheap. He always used to help my mom and I because we don't have a lot of money, and he stopped doing that since he's been with her. He used to always help me and my mom with our bus tickets to come see him and to visit my niece. Now he always says he doesn't have money. So maybe I am wrong for always forgetting my wallet, but it's not fair that she always pays for her own sisters, but not for me. She would never take her sister's wallet and embarrass her at a restaurant trying to make her pay. Taking my wallet and sneaking it to the restaurant when she can afford to pay for things is so messed up. In our culture, the older siblings always pay. She is so cheap, why can't she just treat me? Why does she only treat her sisters and make me look like the bad person when I expect the same treatment as her sisters? I hope people don't think I'm an asshole when they learn more about the situation.